Today the first thing is Jin and its topic is targeting the DSCS. It has a therapeutic impact of BNCD in the form of induced urinary head and neck squamous cell carcinoma model.
Hello everyone, I'm Wu Jinjun, and today I'll be presenting a study titled Targeting MNDSCs Enhance the Therapeutic Effect of BNCT in the 4-NQO-induced mirror head and neck squamous cell carcinoma model. And this paper is published in Frontier in Oncology in 2023 by Chang and colleagues. And this study is aimed to investigate how BNCT influences the behavior of MDSCs both in the tumor and the bloodstream, and whether targeting these cells could enhance anti-tumor immunity and improve the overall therapeutic outcome. And, and as I just mentioned, this paper is published in 2023 October, and the impact factor at that time is 3.5. And this is outline. And I'll start from introduction. Head and neck squamous cell carcinoma, or HNSCC, is the sixth most common cancer worldwide. It often affects critical areas like the tongue, throat, and larynx, making treatment especially challenging for tumor control and preserving essential functions such as speaking and swallowing. And despite advances in treatment, such as IMRT and concurrent chemoradiotherapy, the 5-year survival rate remains around 50%, which shows that current therapies still fall short in providing long-term disease control. And additionally, local recurrence occurs in approximately 14% of patients, and once the tumor recurs, treatment options are extremely limited. And this limitation is primarily because the surrounding healthy tissues, especially in the oral cavity, are highly sensitive to radiation, making re-irradiation difficult and risky. This challenge highlights the urgent need for more tumor-selective and less toxic therapeutic strategies, particularly for patients who have already undergone prior radiation. And one promising approach for recurrent HNSCC is boron neutron capture therapy, or BNCT. It's a tumor-selective radiation therapy that uses compounds containing boron-10 followed by neutron irradiation. When boron-loaded tumor cells are exposed to neutrons, a nuclear reaction occurs, releasing high LT alpha particles and lithium ions that cause severe localized DNA damage, effectively killing the cell from the inside out. This makes BNCT highly precise and effective, especially in cancers that are hard to retreat with conventional radiotherapy. However, while BNCT has shown tumoricidal effects, especially in clinical trials for recurrent HNSCC and glioblastoma, its impact on the tumor microenvironment, particularly immune responses, remains poorly understood. And since we just mentioned the tumor microenvironment, it's important to highlight one of its most immunosuppressive components, the myeloid-derived suppressor cells, or MDSCs. MDSCs are a heterogeneous group of immature myeloid cells that suppress T cell activity and promote tumor progression. They are often recruited in response to inflammation or stress, such as radiation, and their presence is associated with poor prognosis in several cancers. In HNSCC specifically, monocyte MDSCs or MMDSCs are the predominant subtype and are strongly linked to tumor aggressiveness and immune evasion. They are recruited through the CSF1R signaling pathway, which has become a key therapeutic target in recent studies. Given their central role in immune suppression, targeting MMDSCs, particularly by disrupting the CSF1R axis, has emerged as a promising therapeutic strategy. And now let us think how MMDSCs contribute to immune suppression. The authors proposed a clear hypothesis. In recurrent HNSCC, treatment is extremely challenging due to prior radiation exposure and immunosuppressive microenvironment. That's where BNCT comes into the picture. BNCT offers a tumor-selective radiation strategy, but it may not be enough. While it can shrink tumors, The release of inflammatory signals may recruit more MDSCs, leading to the immune rebound and treatment resistance. So the study tested whether combining BNCT with PLX3397, a selective CSF1R inhibitor, could modulate the immune environment, specifically by depleting MNDSCs and thereby improve therapeutic outcomes. And here's materials and method. To test their hypothesis, the authors used a well-established orthotopic tongue tumor model in C57BL6 mice. Tumor was chemically induced by administering spore NQL in drinking water for 16 weeks. And this method closely mimics the stepwise progression of oral squamous cell carcinoma in humans and allows for precise radiation targeting of the tongue. After tumor induction, the mice underwent BNCE treatment. They were first injected intraperitoneally with BPA, a boron carrier, and at 350 mg per kilogram 1 hour before irradiation. And the oral cavity was then exposed to a 2-gray dose using an epithermal neutron beam from solar reactor in Tsinghua University. And to ensure accurate dosing, the researchers performed a BNCD dosage in simulation following ICRU 46 guidelines. They used a Monte Carlo n-particle code to calculate the absorbed dose and applied an RBE of 3.2 and CBE of 3.8 for tumor tissue. The total weighted dose was calculated using this formula, where each term represents the contribution of boron dose, neutron dose, and gamma dose, weighted by their respective biological impact. And to analyze change in immune cell populations, the authors performed flow cytometry on peripheral blood. And the blood samples were collected via submandibular bleeding and processed with standard red blood cell lysis and FC blocking. The following antibodies are used to label relevant immune markers: CD115, CD11B, Ly6C, and Ly6G, and CD45, allowing them to distinguish MMDSCs and PMMDSCs. In addition, they performed immunofluorescence staining on tumor sections to visualize immune cell infiltration. Markers included Ly6C and Ly6G for MDSC subsets, CD68 and F480 for macrophage, CD8 for cytotoxic T cell, and FOXP3 for regulatory T cells. And to suppress MMDSCs, the authors administered PLX3397, a selective CSF1R inhibitor. Treatment began 1 week after BNCT, and mice received 50 mg per kilogram by oral cavity every 2 days for 2 weeks. And here's the results. To begin, the authors first investigated how different MDSC subsets correlate with tumor progression before any treatment was applied. And in this figure, they track the level of all MDSC in this figure, and this figure is MMDSCs in peripheral blood over time as tumor development. And as shown, MMDSCs, which is CD11B positive, Ly6C high, and Ly6G negative, increased significantly with tumor burden. And their frequency showed a strong positive correlation with tumor size, with a Spearman's R value of 0.91, indicating a near linear relationship. And in contrast, PMN and DSCs, which is CD11B positive, Ly6C low, Ly6G positive, did not show a similar trend and remained relatively stable. And these results highlights that MMDSCs are the dominant immunosuppressive subsets in this model of HNSCC and are more closely linked to tumor growth than PMM and DSCs. This finding is important because it not only identifies MMDSCs as a key immunosuppressive population, but also supports the idea that they could serve as a potential biomarker for tumor progression or even as a liquid biopsy target. And after establishing MMDSCs as a key correlate of tumor progression, the authors then asked how does BNCD affect these immunosuppressive cells? First, they confirmed that BNCD significantly prolongs survival, which aligns with its known properties and clinical potential. And interestingly, they observed a transient decrease in MDSC just 1 day after BNCT. However, by day 7, MDSC level in both blood and tumor tissue began to rebound significantly. This rebound effect suggests that while BNCT kills tumor cells, it may also trigger inflammatory signals that recruit new waves of MMDSCs, potentially contributing to immune suppression and recurrence. And once again, PMMDSCs remain unchanged, reinforce that MMDSCs are the more responsive and relevant subset in this setting. So in summary, while BNCD significantly prolonged survival and initially reduced MMDSC's level, this effect was not sustained. MMDSCs quickly rebounded by day 7, both in peripheral blood and in the tumor, suggesting that BNCD alone may trigger compensatory immunosuppressive mechanisms that could limit long-term efficacy. And to overcome the rebound of MMDSCs following BNCT, the authors introduced PLX3397, a selective inhibitor of CSF1R, the key signaling pathway responsible for MMDSC recruitment and survival. When combined with BNCT, PLX3397 effectively suppressed MMDSC accumulation in both peripheral blood and tumor tissue. This confirmed that CSF1R signaling plays a central role in the immunosuppressive rebound observed after BNCT. And this combination therapy also led to a significant reduce in tumor-associated macrophage, CD48 and F480. And more importantly, a marked increase in CD8 T cell infiltration into the tumor. And this change indicates a reprogramming of the tumor microenvironment for immunosuppressive to immunostimulatory. And here you can see a percentage of MMDSCs among CD45 positive immune cells across the 4 treatment groups. And the BNCD only groups, the red one, exhibited the highest level of MMDSCs significantly above both the control and the combination group, and reflecting the strong post-treatment immune rebound. In contrast, both the PLX3397 monotherapy and the BNCD plus PLX3397 combination group showed significantly reduced MMDSC levels, with the combination treatment effectively reversing the rebound triggered by BNCT. And more importantly, these immunological improvements translate into a clear survival benefit. The survival curve shows that the combination group achieved the longest survival, with a mean survival close to 90 days, the green one, and compared to 66 days for BNCT alone and 39 days in the control group. And taken together, these results show that targeting MMDSCs with PLX3397 not only reshapes the tumor immune environment, but also amplifies the therapeutic effect of BNCT, leading to a significantly prolonged survival. Next discussion. Although the studies show that BNCT alone may not be enough for long-term tumor control, the results clearly confirm its effectiveness in HNSCC. It significantly prolongs survival, reduces tumor burden, and causes minimal toxicity even in the oral cavity, which is highly sensitive to radiation. BNCT works by using high LET particles to kill tumor cells efficiently. However, this mechanism may also have an unintended effect on the tumor microenvironment. According to the authors, the cell death caused by BNCT leads to the release of inflammatory signals like IL-34, MMP2, and MMP9. These cytokines can promote the expansion of myeloid-derived cells, including M and DSCs, which are known to suppress immune response. So even though BNCD successfully reduces tumor size, it may also trigger a rebound in immunosuppressive cells, limiting how long the treatment benefit lasts. This highlights the need for strategies that can support the immune system and prevent this rebound effect. And as we discussed earlier, BNCD effectively reduces tumor burden, but it also induces an immunosuppressive rebound, largely driven by MNDSCs. Given the central role of MNDSCs in limiting long-term control, an important question is what's the best way to suppress these cells without harming the rest of the immune system? The authors argue that PLX3397 offers a more targeted and effective solution compared to a broader anti-inflammatory drugs, unlike COX-2 inhibitor or general immune modulators, which affect multiple cell types and risk suppressing T cell or dendritic cells. PLX3397 selectively blocks the CSF1R pathway, which is key for the recruitment and the function of MMDSCs and TAMs. This pathway-specific approach is especially improved in HNSCC, where MMDSCs are the dominant immunosuppressive subset, as shown in the study's flow cytometry and immunofluorescence staining data. By focusing on defined mechanism, PLX3397 avoids the off-target immune suppression seen with broader agents and better preserve anti-tumor T cell function. And because PLX3397 has already entered clinical testing in other cancers, it also offers realistic translational potential. So in the context of BNCD-induced immune rebound, PLX3397 stands out not just for what it blocks, but for what it spares, making it a logical partner for precision radiotherapy. And one of the broader implications of this study is the importance of understanding which MDSC subtype dominates in each tumor type. As lead table shows, in HNSCC as well as pancreatic cancer and non-small cell lung cancer, MDSCs tend to be dominant in these tumor types. And MDSCs are respond to CSF1 and CSF1R signaling, which PLX3397 specifically targets. But in contrast, the other cancer type like prostate cancer or myeloma, the predominant immunosuppressive cells are PMN and DSCs. And these cells are more responsive to chemokine signaling, particularly through CXCR2. This distinction matters because it shows why PLX3397 works well in HNSCC but might not be as effective in tumor where PMN and DSCs are the main suppressors. It also suggests that matching the inhibitor to the dominant MDSC type, like CSF1R for MMDSCs and CXCR2 for PMN MDSCs, could be a key principle in designing effective immunomodulatory therapies. So going forward, understanding the immune landscape of each cancer type will be critical, not just for selecting targets, but for predicting which combinations are most likely to work. And another important technical point raised in the discussion is the variability of RBE and CBE used in BNCD dose calculation. In most preclinical and clinical studies, these values are often assumed to be fixed. But in reality, both RBE and CBE are influenced by multiple factors. For example, RBE depends on the type of radiation and the sensitivity of tissue being irradiated. Because high LET radiation can interact very differently with different tissue, using a simple RBE value may not reflect the true biological damage. And CBE is even more variable, as it depends on the boron compound used, the type of tumor, and how efficiently the compound is taken up by tumor cells. Some tumors may absorb more boron or respond differently to it, which affects the actual therapeutic dose delivered. So while the calculated physical dose may look precise, the biological dose may be over or underestimated. which could affect both treatment safety and efficacy, especially when translating findings from animal models to humans. And to summarize, this study is first to demonstrate that BNCT, while effective at killing tumor, also induces the accumulation of immunosuppressive MNDSCs in blood and within the tumor microenvironment in a murine HNSCC model. This immunologic rebound may limit the durability of BNCT despite its initial tumor control. However, by combining BNCT with PLX3397, a CSF1R inhibitor that selectively targets MNDSCs, the authors were able to enhance therapeutic efficacy, reduce suppressive myeloid cell population, increase CD8 positive T cell infiltration, and significantly prolong survival. These findings reveal a new mechanistic insight into BNCT's immunologic side effects, highlighting a translationally relevant combination strategy that may benefit patients with recurrent or treatment-resistant HNSCC. And finally, I'd like to close by sharing how this study informs my research through a side-by-side comparison. While this work used an orthotopic HNSCC model, my project focuses on the ALT-S1C1 glioma model, where the immune landscape and likely the dominant suppressive mechanisms are quite different. And both studies explore BNCT in combination with immune modulation, but the approach I'm taking differs in a few key ways. In the paper, the authors administered PLX3397 1 week after BNCT to block CSF1R and suppress the MNDSC rebound that followed treatment. In contrast, my goal is to determine not only optimal timing for intervention, but also which pathway CSF1R or PDL1 plays a more critical role in immune suppression and tumor progression in glioma. To do this, I'll use flow cytometry and immunofluorescence to monitor post-treatment expression dynamics, so I can tailor the timing and target of therapy, not based on a preset protocol, but on the actual immune shift observed. This represents the shift from fixed combination therapy to a more adaptive strategies guided by immune profiling and aims to maximize efficacy while minimizing unnecessary toxicity. This study was published by a former PhD student from our lab, and making it particularly relevant, not just conceptually, but also in experimental continuity. While our flow cytometry platforms are different, we share key reagents like antibody panels and follow similar standing protocols. That overlap makes this finding in this paper especially useful for comparing immune profiles and treatment effects in a technically related context. So while I won't replicate this study directly, I view it as a well-aligned foundation for the design and interpretation of my experiments. And this is my thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
Can you explain again the function of the antibodies you mentioned in the materials and methods in the study?
In this page.
Yes.
Okay. Line 6C and line 6G is to determine the MMDSCs and PMMDSCs. And CD68 and F480 is to label the macrophage in tumor microenvironment. And CD8 is for cytotoxic T cell. And FOXP3 is for regulatory T cells.
So besides PLX 3397, what other potential developments can target MNDSCs to enhance the therapy?
The author didn't mention other drug to reduce MMDSCs in this paper.
so, do you know what's the changes in MDSCs in both blood and tumors quantified and analyzed? How can you quantify the changes in the blood and the tumors of MDSC?
Like in this page, they compare the control group and BNC alone group and BNC and the combination group by immunostat the cross section of the tumor, and they can calculate it by analyze the signals in the tumor area.
And what's the dosage of BNC in this study?
They use total 2 gray to the tumor.
So, how can you make sure that for accumulation in this inner tumor is? And how can you make sure that your boron accumulation in the tumor is sufficient?
Yes, in here they also mentioned that they inject BPA 1 hour before irradiation, and they did a test to measure the BPA ratio in tumor and normal tissue to determine the best timing of irradiation.
And how does PLX act on CSF? And how does it affect for MMDSC?
Mm, it's mostly because MDS is recruited to tumor, and it's mostly recruited through CSF1 and CSF1R pathway, and MDSCs and MMDSCs express most CSF1 are in the compared to other subtype of MDSCs. So it's it can specifically deplete MMDSCs through blocking CSF1, CSF1 as well.
This page, why they change the regular water after 16 weeks until 24 weeks? Why they don't just give 4 kilo water until 24 weeks? Is there any difference?
I think they just follow the established model uh, by previous stuff.
I have two questions. One is, why was the BNC invisible dose set at 2 per in this model?
They have tried a higher dose in this model priorly, and they found that higher dose may cause some severe side effects, and when the dose reduced to 2 gray, and the side effect is not apparent, so they choose this dose.
And the other is, why was the CBE value of 3.8 used?
Uh, they use this CBE value because they follow the guideline established by IAU for oral cancer.
Page 8. How should we read this figure?
And this is a survival curve and shows how BNCT prolong the survival. And this is the MDSCs per CD45 positive cells. It shows that compared to the control group, BNCT induced transiently reduce in day 1 and then rebound till day 7. And in figure C, they and this figure the green signal is like 6C and the red signal is like 6U, and in mostly the most signal in these figures are green, so it means that these cells are Ly6C positive and Ly6G negative, and let's confirm that these cells are MNDSCs. So, and compare the control and post 1 day BNCT and post 7 day BNCT, you can find that there was a transient decrease, and this confirmed the flow cytometry results. And the next speaker is Yishan, and he's going to share the article behavior of the trapezoid-based data acquisition system up to 100 kilohertz and beyond. Yeah, welcome.
Hello everyone, I'm Yoichi. Today I'm going to present the report behavior of trapezoid-based data acquisition system up to 100 kilohertz and beyond. Part 1 is introduction, and the background first. Rare event analysis is difficult. Most of the signals we detect come from background reactions. These background signals are very common and can hide the rare events we are looking for. Second, to get good results faster, we increase the luminosity. This means we send more particles into the experiment, but when we do that, the number of events also increases. We call this a higher event rate. Finally, to find the rare and interesting event, we need a high performance data acquisition system. It's DAQ. This system must work well, even when there are many background signals. Next is about the DAQ system. If the DAQ processes each event faster, it can handle more events per second. This means a higher event rate, but the faster processing can make the resolution worse, especially energy resolution. So we also use the flash ADC. This device changes the analog signal into digital, and it does it very quickly. Flash ADC can stream waveform data in real time with extremely short recovery times. If FPGA to the system, it can also analyze the signal right away like getting a pulse height, interval, and time step. This system supports higher event rate. Next is motivation behind this study. They are working with a high flux neutron source in flame cold flames. It can produce a neutron flux of high neutron flux, which allows to study very rare radioactive isotopes. In this kind of setup, some samples may have activity close to 1 megabecquerel. At that level, traditional analog DAQ systems are not enough, so they cannot keep up with so many events. So they need to test a new type of digital DAQ system and see if it can still work well when the signal rate is very high. That means we want to see if it can keep both resolution and stability. They also want to find the best filter settings that give them the best performance under these conditions. Next is materials and methods. The first, how they prepare the samples for the experiment. They made a base solution by dissolving sodium carbonate into water. This solution contains a small amount of sodium, which will let become radioactive after activation. Then taking this base solution and diluting it with water to make 4 samples, each with a different concentration from about 90% up to 100%. We can see the concentration and their actual sample masses in the table on the right. After preparing the solutions, they place them into a research reactor and expose them to neutron for 5 minutes. During this process, sodium 23 in the solution becomes sodium 24, which is radioactive and gives off gamma rays. This gives them samples with different levels of radioactivity. After activation, some samples were expected to reach more than 300 kBq, which is very strong and helps testing the limits of detector and DAQ system. Next is setup. The activity samples were placed 6.4 centimeters in front of the detector. They use a high purity germanium detector, which is very sensitive. To help us estimate data, they place a C137 calibration source in front of the detector. They use its gamma peak as a reference. The detector signal goes through a preamplifier. This preamplifier has a rise time of 800 nanoseconds and a decay time of 33 microseconds. This signal shifts affect how fast the system can return to baseline. After the preamplifier, the signal is sent to a KV 1724 dipacer. It samples at 100 MHz. The waveform is processed by the DVPHA firmware, which extracts energy and timing information in real time. This setup allows to test if the DAQ system can still correctly record all gamma ray events, even under very high counting rates. Next is the trapezoid filter in their digitizer system. The DAQ system uses a filter based on Jordanov trapezoid filter. This filter takes the signal from the preamplifier and shapes it into a trapezoid. The height of the trapezoid is proportional to how much energy the particle releases. The filter has 6 main parameters that can adjust. One is the first one is baseline averaging length. This is how much the samples that used to be averaged before the signal starts. Second is plateau averaging length. Is how much the samples that used to be averaged in the plateau. The third is rise time. It's how fast the signal goes up. Fourth is plateau length. It's how long the top parts stay flat. Five is delay time. Delay time is the time between the start of the plateau and this averaging window. Six is decay constant. Is to cancel long tail signal effects from the preemptive one. And number 3, 4, 5 is adjusted to see how they affect the resolution and the daytime. And the results. Now let's look at the results. First is shape of the gamma peaks in the spectrum. This figure shows the spectrum from 4 different sodium carbonate samples. Each one was measured for 300 seconds. You can see 3 main gamma peaks. One is 662 keV from 330 and 1368 keV and 2754 keV. These are from sodium 24, and one is some peak at around 41 and 22 keV, which comes from 2 gamma rays arriving at the same time. And as the sodium carbonate increase, the radioactivity increases, so the event rate gets higher. When that happens, the peaks start to look different. At low concentration, the peaks are sharp and symmetric, like a typical Gaussian shape. But at high activity, the peaks become asymmetric. You can see a secondary bump on the left side. This is a low energy tail. So the shape of the peak tells us how well the DAQ system is working. Next is activity. It's how they calculate the activity of the samples. They use the samples with the lowest sodium carbonate concentration to calculate the activity. This is sample 1 with a concentration of 9.55%, and the activity was calculated using the sun peak method. This peak comes from 2 gamma rays being detected at the same time. They use this formula here. This formula helps correcting for coincidence effects, so they can estimate the true activity of the sample. After getting activity for sample 1, they use the sodium carbonate mass ratio to scale and calculate the activity for the other samples. So you can see the results in this table. Next is the event rate against the daytime and of DAQ system. The activity of the sample is not the only thing that affect the event rate. So the distance between the sample and the detector also matters. Even if 2 samples have the same activity, the one placed closer to the detector will create more detected events. They calculate the real event rate in the detector using this formula. And daytime with the signal from the silicon source, comparing the counting rate with and without a sample in place, and correcting for gamma transmission rules. Now look at the plot. As the event rate increases, the daytime stays low until around 35 kHz. After this point, the daytime rises sharply. This means that the system starts to struggle to keep up when the input rate is too high. So 35 kHz is a critical threshold. Next is efficiency and the line width changing with increasing event rate. On the left side, you can see the peak detection efficiency for 2 gamma energies from sodium 24. The efficiency is calculated by comparing the number of detected counts and the number of decay expected based on the activity. This formula shown here. As the event rate increases, the efficiency stays stable at first, but once it reaches around 35 kHz, the efficiency starts to drop quickly, especially for the 2755 kV lines. This means the system is missing more and more events as it gets busier. On the right side, we see how the line width changes. This is how wide the gamma peaks appear in the energy spectrum. A small line width means good resolution, but when the event rate gets too high, the peaks get broader and less sharp. The yellow curve shows the line width at 2754 kV. It increased a lot after 35 kHz, showing that resolution is getting worse. The same thing is seen for the other 2 kV lines, but not as strongly as at yellow one. This confirms that 35 kHz is the upper performance limit of this DAQ system under current setting. Next, in this part, the different filter settings affect the data quality, especially the energy resolution and daytime. They use sample 3 for this test and adjust 3 parameters. Look at the graphs. Left chart, when they shorten the plateau to 500 nanoseconds, the line width got worse. This is likely because the pulse top wasn't stable enough. A longer plateau gives better energy resolution, but it also increases daytime. And next is middle chart. The best delay was around 89 nanoseconds. The narrowest peak meaning the best resolution. Too short or too long delay both reduce performance. Next is right chart. For the right time, the results were not so clear, but the system still worked well at 500 nanoseconds. Based on 3 tests, they define a new optimized setting. Plateau equals 500 nanoseconds. Plateau delay is 80 nanoseconds, and the runtime is 500 nanoseconds. Then compare this with the original setting. First, look at the daytime. Both settings perform very well up to 335 kHz. We can see that the daytime stays low for both cases, even at high event rate. So in terms of stability, the new setting works just as well as the old one. And below is energy resolution. This is where we see a clear difference. At around 30 kHz, the 30 peaks is about 21% wide with the new setting. Even worse, the 2754 kb peaks goes from 9 kb to 14 kb. That's about a 50% increase in line width. So even though both setting keeps daytime low, but the older setting gives much better resolution. And there is discussion. In theory, if the sacrifice the resolution to improve stability should allow for higher event rate operation. But in this study, the results did not match the expectation. There's no big improvement in daytime, even though even though even though they lower the resolution. This means that changing the digitizer setting may not be the real solution. Instead, this suggests that the main cause of data is not the digitizer, but the preamplifier that is connected to the detector. This slide brings together the three key performance indicators of the DFU system. First, we observe a sample activity increase. The event rate also increased, which lead to lower detection efficiency, higher daytime, and broader gamma peaks. That was resolution. These are all expected changes. However, what's really important is this. All these three indicators shows a clear change in slope around 35 kHz. That means the system performance is stable below 35 kHz, but start to degrade quickly beyond that point. So the digital DX system test in this study can stable handle event rates up to 35 kHz per channel. And final conclusion. Here are three main conclusions of this study. This study confirms that the methodology-based DX system can reliably handle up to 35 kHz per channel with acceptable resolution. With multi-channel expansion, the system can potentially manage over 300 kHz in total. Hardware improvements may further enable stable measurements of the samples with up to 1 megabecquerel activity in rare event environments.
Is there any question?
Page 4.
Can you explain what is FPGA?
It's field programmable gate array，它中文名称叫现场可程式化逻辑杂阵列，让它就是可以由使用者来设定的一体的一个晶片，那根据不同需求来设定它的逻辑的电路，然后因为它的所有逻辑操作是在一体直接执行，不是软体，所以它可以一般人跑得比较快，然后可以同时处理多笔的资料，这样，所以它搭配这个主要是可以及时的去分析它的 cost 这样。
Page 10. Why did they choose the simple one with the lowest
and into CO3 concentration?
They choose this sample because the low sodium carbonate concentration which the event rate is lower. So it is easier to get a clean signal without high up or daytime effect.
Page 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why there as a summary peak around 4 MeV on the figure?
刚提到是 two gamma rays arriving at the same time into a detector，就前面那两个 peak，前两个宁纳的 peak 同时进到 detector，然后被视为同一个事件，所以它把它的能量就是被加总在一起，形成一个新的 signal peak。
Okay, so why do you have sodium DE and SE peak?
Because this is 说旁边这样的，
就是1000多 keV 到2700 keV 中间，这个 DE 跟 SE peak。
哦，就是因为那个 peak 的能量都超过1.02 MeV，所以它可能会产生成对反应，产生反应就会有 positron， 然后互回之后产生两个1.1 MeV 的光子，那如果一个跑出来被侦测到就是 SE， 那两个被侦测到就是 DE。
For this spectrum, what is the cause of the electron peak appearing on the left side?
This is probably caused by pair-up or baseline shift. When many signals comes in too close together, the system may not fully process each one, and the energy is underestimated. This causes secondary peaks at lower energies.
And page 5. It's clear it didn't reach 1 gigabit. Why does it claim that 1 gigabit can be measured?
这为什么它是？
就是为什么可以，它就是你很明显达不到 EMDQ 的，量不到 EMDQ 的等级，但是为什么它可以宣称它可以量到？
它没有宣称，它原本是想要就是它设计是用在高坡度下的量测的行为，那它里面到目前量体没有到1 megabit， 但是未来要知道1 megabit 的话，所以旧的那种类比系统是没办法的，它要开发的新的数位。那文中那些不同厚度的，它只是要模拟这样的高厚度的比，所以没有到1 megabit， 之后它可能会去做。
So the electron peak is not from the electron signal. 就是那个 electron peak 不是来自于 electron 曾经能量导致。你刚刚说它是 baseline shift 或是什么原因导致？对，那可以再解释一次吗？因为
你说旁边这个？
对，前662 kV 左边那个 peak 啊，它不是也从 peak，
哦，你说662 kV？
对。
我刚讲的是1368旁边那个跟275旁边那个， 就是他刚刚是问这个的这个。
那是 counter age 吧？
Counter age。
它也会被筛选到。
这一问是后610盲点。
对啊，我没有想，因为我刚刚听说的，但是我没有很理解为什么被筛选这个效应会导致会有一个人工程式。
我里面有解释说就是它要跟 baseline shift 的话，就是在人家事件叠加在一起，然后所以算力量之后，它就会从就会从不对的地方开始算这样。这样看这样更清楚。
那为什么那个计算率提升的时候，可能这样子进度会下降？
里面没有特别高，但是我觉得就是太多，同时太多干嘛会进去，他没有办法。针对那个 pick 的话，没有那么没办法解析在那个单纯那个圈中，所以它就会那个 pick 就会变得比较快。
第四页。在高技术率下的时候，它的 pick 的正点效率就下降的原因是什么？
下降。
就像这样，在高技术率超过35 kHz 以上，它的效率会下降。
对。
那这个原因是什么？它会不会是下降是由于前面的热点度下降，在抓近能风量的时候，它被斯来提升，所以它抓到的区域是什么？
然后我就看一下那个例数。
那第19页。
19。
那这边提到的这一台是由于，你有一页是提到这个 data 是来自于泰森，而是来自于 Create。
对，他说。
对，好，这是那这个 data 的效应在 VM 或是在平台上面会呈现什么样的情况？那你怎么去分辨它是来自于 VM 或是来自于泰森？
它里面有提到说，就是在测量其他渗透的时候，有发生就是可能讯号不稳定的情况，然后就是他有提到是 VM 的问题，但是他很简单的提到的，然后所以他觉得在整体的测量下来，可能不是基于泰森，或者是 VM 的，就是造成 data 的原因。
最后一个问题是，这次提到的地形滤波，和一般传统的，不是梯形整形啊，梯形整形方式和传统的高悬的整形，或是bipolar的整形，或是二次微分整形，那这有什么差异？为什么它这里要使用梯形？因为如果是数位化的话，其实上述提到的方法都是可以直接数位化处理，那为什么这里要用的是梯形？
他用的梯形是就是那种它里面有整理出来的。他说这个梯形 在所有的综合的情况下是表现是比较好的，对，他选择这个。
还是在使用的表现比较好。
我去整理给你，把单整理完给你。
13.
啊，13.
So, as event rate in detector increase, the data will increase as well. So by around 10 kilo, the data is decrease.
之前的原有点下降。之前。
就是应该 event rate 上升的话，你 data 没有跟着上升，那为什么它那个曲线在10过以后它是下降的，所以它可不可以继续往上升？
没有提到的，但是我觉得那一段都是在它的不稳定的状况下，但前面的部分都保持在低的 daytime， 所以可能就只是误差。
Okay.
Can you share the connection between this study and your future research? As we didn't mention. Can you share the connection between this study and your future research? Because we didn't say it.
之后研究可能会用到，也是用到这样的一个梯形滤波的方式，然后在两侧比较高技术率的情况，所以看这篇 paper 就是参考它可能遇到的问题或是两侧的东西来做参考。
就是因为假如说你之后研究会用到这个梯形滤波，那你刚刚文章没有提到就是那个梯形滤波的发作的时间，还有发作地点的时间跟 rising time 的时间，这三个因素会影响到整个增减的 daytime。那你之后做研究的时候要怎么对这三个参数去做选择？
这三个参数的选择会去看它引入进来的这个波形去设定，然后那刚提到如果是对于比较高技术率的话，那在整形的时间就不能拉太长，所以在time跟拉time就会设置的比较短一点。那这个地选的话，它是用 pen 的这个detector，那还有手册会提到，里面应该会提到说关于这边的设置。那记得还在对于开抗日的话，我们就可以设置比较短，大约是2到3 second 左右。
短的梯形时间会导致什么样的情况？
短的选
在高技术率的情况下选择短的梯形的持续时间，那这样子会导致间隙有什么样的优势，或者有什么样的缺点？
因为如果时间太长，就会让整个讯号叠在一起，就没办法去念出单一个事件，所以我们要把确定太调短，让它不会
调短之后，这间隙会有什么样的问题产生？
对于它的能量解析度，我觉得肯定会下降，因为它要取就是平顶中，然后取它的点去计算。
去调短它的维持时间，就是为了保持它的量体。
调短是这样去拍。
去调短是去避免掉它，但是它的现象会导致量体度下降。所以你调短是为了去保持量体。所以说你调短，你刚刚说你调短。
应该说它会在能量计算上会比较准确。因为它是利用 Plato 上面的某个点、某个位置，然后去计算有多少点用来计算它的能量。如果太短的话，可能点就不动就大，可能就是计算不正确。
问一下，就是你这个 filter 是根据你量测的增减器产生的波形，还是根据你量测的环境的技术率去调整？
你说这个标准？
对啊，所以刚刚提到你会根据一些情况去做调整。
对，会去看它收到讯号的waveform，然后去调整。
所以主要还是透过waveform。
对。Yes, thanks for listening.
谢谢。我们这个是学期报告也将近尾声哦，然后我发现哦，观察下来哦，同学普遍有一个很大的共同点，就是你们在台上报告的时候都不敢看台下的人。哦，那因为其实我前面已经讲说，我过去在课堂上我会看同学。这间通常其实是因为我想要抓同学有没有在做自己的事情，哦，或者是不小心打瞌睡，我就看同学。可是，在那个国际研讨会的报告上，你就会发现，如果有报告者，他就是这样子看着稿子里面，他就会散发着一个气场，就是我想要赶快结束这回合，然后你不要问我问题，哦，所以其实就是说你的这个态度，哦，会影响到你给人家就是在整个这个尤其是在研讨会上面的那种感觉，大家就会觉得说，为什么你会有这种态度，是因为你可能对你自己的报告内容掌握的熟悉度不够，或者是你对你的 data 信心不足，所以你们不要问我问题，我要帮你下去这样子哈。所以其实普遍来说哈，都会有你们大概目前看起来都有这个问题。那所以说，其实我们要想办法去让人家觉得说我们对自己的报告是有信心的哈。那我们过去我就会教学生说，其实你有个做法，你就是锁定台下其中一个人。你就一直看他，哦，然后让大家觉得说你其实有在做你跟现场观众的一个交流，然后你是很有信心的去传递你的这一些你的这个报告的一个内容。那我想这个在研讨会上面哦，你不要让人家发现你是一个小菜鸟哦，然后你是很紧张的一件事情的时候，你要去有一些的技巧，然后去把这个整个的演讲做一个比较完美的一个流程嘛，哦，那这个就是之后，因为我们的 seminar 的训练本来就是为了以后推动你们去参加这些研讨会，哦，所以尽量我们在校内就是有这样子持续的一个练习，那相信以后只要有研讨会的发表的一个时间，你就不会被人家抓到说哦，你其实很想赶快下台哦。好，就大概是这样，就是最后的提点哈。那助教这边是会再帮我们统计一下，就是所有同学的这些发问的次数哦。虽然我们是说密密码是5次，但是我们还是持续的鼓励同学尽量的做一些互动跟那个提问的一些练习。好，那就是提问次数越多，你的这个分数的一个比例就可以拉得更高，这样子。好 ，OK， 那就今天到这边。